ఇంట్లో రికార్డింగ్ బాగా అవుతుంది.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
I think it's 6. Better we start off. See, for the last so many classes, we have been discussing the theories behind criminal behavior, and then I told you in the last class itself that there is not much difference. Rather, the terms are a little overlapping when you talk of theories of crimes vis-a-vis the theories of criminal behavior. But anyway, we have done with that, and then today we'll start some of the crimes that have been listed as the property offences, listed as offences against the person, then of course offences related to documents and public tranquility. Like that, there are categories of crimes which have been defined. So whenever we say IPC, that is a code. So the difference between law and code is, code is a amalgamation of all laws, rules put together on a vast subject. So it is codified and you get the name code. Example is of course Indian Penal Code. So that is what code talks about, and it categorically tries to divide all the crimes and then give a definition. So it gives a definition, and some clauses, as I told you, some sections rather, they exclusively deal with the definition part of it, and while some other related sections deal with the penal provisions, and then there are some more sections which we'll talk about. Both in the same section you have the definition part and also the punishment part. So we try to understand law in different the criminal laws in different ways. That is, we can divide them into procedural laws and then substantive laws. Then we can also say that substantive laws always they try to talk about the rights, the duties, and then the obligations and liabilities. So whenever a law talks about these things, whenever there is a breach of these rights and all, there is a remedy. So it is talking about all that, and accordingly we also have adjective law, or otherwise called as procedural law. And procedure laws, as you know, exclusively deal with the procedure. Now once you have a right which has been breached, which is violated, then that aggrieved party will definitely approach court. Then they have to prove their case in the court of law, and what is the penal provision under which a particular person has to be tried upon. And then if the guilt is proved by way of evidences and all, naturally he'll be convicted under those many sections which have been listed by the prosecution. Now IPC is a very clear kind of a codified law. So wherein you have different categories of crimes which have been divided and categorized, and accordingly depending upon the severity of the crime, the punishments are levied. Now since we have property offences and then the offences relating to life, so these category of offences are listed in our syllabus. So I thought I'll dwell more upon this. Let me not take out section by section and try to read all the sections and try to understand. So I will not venture to do that, but nevertheless, since property offences are listed in our syllabus, it's but natural that we'll try to group up these sections. Wherever property offences are there, we try to group up sections and then try to understand broadly what they are all. So you can see the corresponding sections of the new act anyway. So as I told you repeatedly, the content wise it's the same, but for sections here and there, clubbing up some sections, deleting some sections, only this much change has happened. and not very much, you don't see any sea change over there. So, starting with these property offences, now we know that next in importance to any person in our life, if you see, of course, the rights to life, body, liberty, these are very paramount, fundamental, of course. But then, apart from that, if you try to look at other rights, definitely rights relating to his property are very, very important, isn't it? Now, all the rights that are vested in a person, for the ease of understanding, what we can do is can be divided into two categories. One is, of course, the personal rights. The second category we can name that as proprietary right. Now, I am not following the PowerPoint. This will be as a prelude for the topic for the PowerPoint. So, today I will not be dealing with the what is there exactly in the PowerPoint. I am just trying to group sections, as I said, and try to understand how many categories of sections are there which deal exclusively with the property. So I'll try to group them and we'll try to discuss them broadly today. But as the sessions progress, probably we'll deal more into those sections. So as I said, the personal rights are one category of rights we have, and proprietary rights, of course, are another. And these personal rights have judicial value, and the proprietary rights are those which constitutes his assets. So whatever assets we buy, whatever estates we have, or whatever properties which we have, they have some economic value, and of course his credit side will also be swelled. Somebody has to assess what is his credit worthiness. So so this is how, and Bacon is one criminologist who try to, in a lighter way, and says, law is mighty, but money is almighty. That's what he says. Law may be mighty, but then when it comes to money, it is almighty, it is above law. That's what he says. Bacon is the one who tried to give this kind of a note. So it is the duty of every civilized state. So the power vests with the state to ensure that all its subjects, not only lives and liberties of the subject has to be protected, but then the properties, because next to life is only property, isn't it? So it is the state subject, state to protect the property of its citizen. So the object of this law of property is just to see what a man has acquired. See, whatever properties during his lifetime, when he acquires, so he has to retain them and enjoy, isn't it? Part of it he enjoys by way of getting letting it to on rent, and then trying to get some rental money after that, and then enjoy. He can't live in all the houses, isn't it? Definitely there will be one house, the choice of his preference, he'll be staying there, and rest of them anyway he'll be letting it for rent and all. So he is ultimately, what he is doing is he is peacefully enjoying his property. He is peacefully enjoying the property. So it is the duty of the state to ensure that the citizen or the individual should be allowed the proper enjoyment, that is peaceful enjoyment of the property. Not only retain that property, but also enjoy out of the property. Now, to protect this kind of a retention enjoyment of property, Indian Penal Code, that is IPC, under Chapter 17, ranging from sections 378 to 462. 378 to 462, it has recognized a good number of offences, which may be again grouped, as I said. So the sections ranging from 378 to 462, they are the ones which are dealing with the different categories of offences which relate to the property. Now, if you have to group all of them, so broad classification or broad grouping would be like this. One first category or first group of offences can be said as the theft, extortion, robbery and dacoity. So this is first category. So what is the first category? Theft, extortion, robbery, dacoity. So what are the sections which deal with this? Ranging from 378 to 402. So these are the group of sections which deal with this. Now the second category of offences relating to properties, we can name them as criminal misappropriation and then the breach of trust. So second category will be criminal misappropriation and then the breach of trust. So the sections that deal with these kind of property offences can be said to be 403 and then from 403 to 414. So these are the sections which are going to deal with the criminal misappropriation and breach of trust. The third category is cheating and mischief. The third category are going to deal with the cheating and mischief. So under cheating, under mischief also, there is again subclass. Lot of subclasses when cheating is done by clerk, when cheating is done by wife or the person who is employee endowment. There are categories of subclassifications, subsections that deal with the concept of cheating. And likewise mischief also, there are a lot of subsections that will be dealing in a particular topic, under mischief. Then the fourth category we can say is criminal trespass. Criminal trespass. So the sections that deal with criminal trespass are from 441 to 462. So in total what we can say is, from 378 to 402, these sections are dealing with theft, extortion, robbery and then dacoity. So these are so as you can see, the first group is proposed, the first ones in the category and the last one, they are protecting the possession of property by a person, protecting the possession. That means when you are in possession of a particular property, when you are the owner, you should be given protection against the property so that nobody will take away that kind of a right from you and allow you not only retain the property for yourself, for your enjoyment, personal enjoyment, but also to ensure that nobody takes away this kind of a possession from your ownership. So this is also has to be now. So there is not much difference between the ownership and the possession. So in law, possession is presumed to be the owner in law. Any possessor is presumed to be the owner in law. So what it says is possession is 9 points in law. Possession is almost 9 points in law. So we can say whosoever is in possession of a particular property, who is called a possessor, is presumed to be the owner. In law always there is presumptions, lot of presumptions are there. Now even if suppose some person is in possession of a particular property, let us say for 12 long years. So 12 long years he may not be the owner, but the owner is staying somewhere else, and then this person is given the benefit of living over there, and then maybe on rent or maybe in good faith they must have given him for temporary enjoyment and all. But after 12 years get over, then the person who is occupying that particular property will have a presumed kind of a possession. He becomes a presumed owner. He becomes a presumed. This is adverse possession. This is called in law adverse possession. So that is the reason I told you that in law possession is almost 1 point, maybe less, if you want to see that in the scale of 10. So people say possession is 9 points in law. Now the property offences as discussed under the the sections, different sections of IPC. Now we need to understand what it is. Now property in possession means what? Now that means, possession and ownership here, if you want to see. So as I said, there is not much difference, though it is only 9 point out of 10 when you talk of possession, but it's good. In law, we consider possession almost equal to the ownership. Once I say that you are the owner of the property, what do you understand? What rights come to you along with that property? when you are a owner of a property, what are all the rights you think which will come to you, which will automatically get vested in you when you say that you are the owner of the property? What do you understand by ownership?
The right to be able to use the property whenever you want to, and even if you wish to sell it away or.
Yes, all the properties, all the characters of a property, that you are the owner, you can sell it, you can appropriate it, you can part with it, or if you can want to sadistically destroy it, you can do that also. So possession includes, corpus as well as animals. That means the intention that you want to enjoy, and then the right you get, the physical possession of that. So possession means both corpus and then animus. That means intention to have it, and then the physical possession of that particular property. Now, when we talk of crimes like theft and all, now each crimes that are listed in the penal code, you need, whenever you want to study, what you have to do is, now read the section first. You need not by heart verbatim that, but then the best way of understanding any section under IPC is try to enlist the ingredients that go to make that particular section. If it is a definition section, what you need to understand is pick up the words which actually compose the essence of that particular section. Now, they are called ingredients of a particular section. So, if all the ingredients of that particular section, if a particular act of a man are fulfilling, then we say he is said to have committed that particular crime. He is said to have performed or committed that particular crime. So, let us just read the section 378, which defines what is theft, and try to understand what kind of ingredients will go to make the theft. So, what are the ingredients that we need to look for in that particular action, so that we can label that particular action as theft. Now, if you read it word by word very carefully, what it says under theft under section 378 is, whoever intending to take dishonestly any movable property out of possession of any person without that person's consent moves that property in order to such taking is said to commit theft. So, there must be some ingredients out of the section that we try to read. Now, what if I can ask you to list out the ingredients of this particular section, analyze the section and come out with the ingredients, what will be your reaction? How you will be able to do that? So, let me, for the benefit of everybody, let me again read very carefully what section 378 under theft reads. Whoever, that means some person is there, intending, that means he has an intention. What is that intention? With what intention he is doing? Dishonestly. Dishonestly, that means there is an intention which talks about mens rea. We have talked about mens rea, actus reus and all, So, where do you get this mens rea here? The mens rea is dishonestly, in order to create some wrongful gain for somebody, wrongful loss for somebody. So, what do you understand? Dishonestly, if somebody takes away a property from you, then you are losing that property. You are the owner, but then you are losing it. That means it's a wrongful loss for you. The person who takes away the property from you is gaining. He is gaining. What do you understand by that? When he is gaining lawfully? Is he gaining from the property lawfully? What is he doing?
No, illegally.
What is he doing in the process? Now, there are two actions simultaneously happening when I use the word dishonesty. Am I audible? Am I audible? Everybody please speak out.
Yes, ma'am.
Now try to understand Why am I very specifically using this word dishonestly? That means when the moment I put the word dishonestly, it only implies that in the process, the real owner of the property from whom I am taking away the property, now for me, if I take that property, I am gaining. Is it a rightful way of gaining? It is wrongful. So, wrongful gain for me. And what about the owner? He is losing, isn't it? He is losing. So it is not lawful. That means wrongful loss. So wrongful loss of somebody will become wrongful gain of the other person. Now in the process, the two words can be put together and then a common word can be used for that, dishonestly. So what does one do? Whoever intended to take dishonestly any movable property, see that not all properties will constitute theft. So there is a rider there. What is the rider? What is the rider that is fixed there?
Movable property.
That means properties, again we can understand that there are movable properties, immovable properties also. So the theft can be there only when a movable property is taken away. So suppose there is a crop, there is a paddy crop which is standing. Can that be called a movable property? Can we call that as a movable property? Anything attached to the earth,
No.
earth cannot be called, isn't it? It is
It
fixed.
is not a movable.
But then the moment you sever that from the earth, the moment when paddy is ripe for harvesting and or ripe for taking it out, then you sever it from the earth, isn't it? So the moment it is severed from the earth, then it becomes movable because it is easy to move. That's the meaning. Movable money, you can move it from one place to the other. So easy to move. So movable property. So any property which has got the a property which is movable, that means it can be moved, transported from one place to the other. Now, movable property out of the possession of any person, that means somebody is a owner and somebody has got a movable property. Now, dishonestly you want to take away that property which is movable in nature, and then from whom are you taking? That is, somebody is in possession of that. So you are dispossessing him, you are dispossessing the owner, and from him you are taking away the movable property dishonestly. Dishonestly you are doing that. And one more thing is without the person's consent. That means if suppose you take permission, you take consent, then take. The element of mens rea is not there because you are already taking permission, taking consent, informing under his knowledge, under his knowledge you are taking it with a promise that you will return. Then the ingredients will not attract the definition of theft. See, for example, I am reading a book. I kept the book on my table and then I have gone just inside the kitchen and some neighbor comes and he takes away the book. He takes away the book. Now, if I keep my book on my table, am I directly, immediately in the possession of the book? Can we say that I am not the owner since it is not in my possession, immediate possession? If I hold the book, then you can say it is in my possession. Even if I keep it on the table in my own house or in any almirah and I am out of station, my book is in almirah or my clothes are in almirah, can we say that you are not the owner since you are not in the immediate possession of the property? Can we say that?
No, ma'am.
Am I clear? Are you able to appreciate the fact? Difficult to understand? Any responses? Because it's very important that you should understand this. Theft is a very simple kind of a property offense. So all other things are aggravated forms of this. So you need to understand what theft is in the first place. Is everybody with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So it only defines that without the person's consent, if he is the owner, if I take his consent, permission, it's no offense at all. Though other ingredients are getting fulfilled, movable property, book to movable property hai, isn't it? You are trying to move
but then with consent. When there is the element of consent, then your mens rea is gone. That is dishonesty. That element of dishonesty has gone, isn't it? Or you inform him and take it. That is one scenario. The other scenario is that you are reading a book in your house and neighbor comes with a similar kind of a book, because several copies can be there. I mean, each one of us can buy copies, very similar copies. So when books are released into the market, there will be copies, many copies, isn't it? So it so happens that the neighbor also is in possession of a similar kind of a book, maybe another copy. Now, maybe of another author, let us say. Now, while going, what she does is, you have gone inside the house for some work, and then that neighbor takes away the book. Whose book? Your book, thinking it is her book. Thinking that it is her book, she takes away that book. So, what are the ingredients of theft here? Are all the ingredients of theft are fulfilling here or not? You tell me that.
No.
What are the ingredients that some of them are fulfilling? But what is important for all of us is, when you want to make it a crime, it should have that element, mens rea, that intention, wrong intention, bad intention, that should be there, isn't it? Now, that is not there, because very innocently, because since both books by appearance they are looking alike, so thinking that it is her own book, she takes it away. But then maybe later on she realizes that it is not her book and she is not the owner of that book, and silently comes and then apologizes, and then she returns the book back. So in that case, you cannot say just because there is a movable property and because the owner of the book doesn't know that I have not taken his consent and all, and I am taking it away. Those things are only there. But the main element, mens rea, that you have a bad intention, dishonestly. So what is that? So I should be gaining wrongfully, and somebody should be losing wrongfully. Wrongful loss and wrongful gain should be there, only then the element of dishonesty will be completely fulfilled. So here in these examples, there is no intention. That means it is only out of sheer chance that she has taken, without, very innocently she has taken, without knowing that it is not her book. So in that case, we cannot say just because some of the ingredients are getting fulfilled, we cannot call that as a theft. So there are again, whenever you want to read a particular section, you can understand the section in a better way when you read the explanations, because for all words that are described in the section, either you get explanation in general explanation part. If you don't find there, at least the section gives you a lot of explanation. So explanation 1, 2, 3, 4 are there. So which will try to explain to us. Now, as I said, explanation 1, for example, a thing so long as it is attached, I told you already, to the earth, not being movable property. So we don't consider that as a movable property. Is not the subject of theft. That means if the property is not movable, immovable rather, it cannot constitute the subject matter of the theft. But the rider is that it becomes capable of being the subject of theft as soon as it is severed from the earth. So the moment you sever the connection between that object and the earth, then it becomes easily transportable. So it can be transformed into a movable property. So that is what explanation 1 is going to tell you. Now explanation 2 is also there. It says a moving effect by the same act which affects severance may be a theft. So it includes both severance and also moving. So these two are combined in the definition of theft. Now explanation 3 says a person is said to cause a thing to move by removing an obstacle which prevented it from moving, or by separating it from any other thing, as well by actually moving it. For example, a truckload of narcotics is being taken as a medicine, may be used to relieve the pain of a cancer patient, they are transporting, let us say. So what I do is I try to divert the vehicle and then try to take it in a different way. So, or I try to do that, then I'll be preventing it, from moving in the desired direction rather in a separate direction, isn't it? So that can also be called as theft. So a person, fourth explanation says that a person who by any means causes an animal to move is said to move that animal, and to move everything which in consequence of the motion so caused is moved by that animal. So when it is a bullock cart kind of a thing, it carries some treasure and all, in that case also we can include that as an explanation 4. Explanation 5 says the consent mentioned in the definition. We said, without the consent, if there is a consent is of different implied consent, explicit consent, isn't it? So like that there are different shades of consent again. Now whatever consent that we are mentioning in the explanation of or definition of the theft, whatever is mentioned may be express or implied. By my word, by my act, I may imply, my action may imply that I have given consent, isn't it? If I, for example, nod my head horizontally, then it may imply. I may not utter any word, but then that implies that I am giving consent, isn't it? So it can be expressed. I may utter by a word, yes, you can take it. So that is express. So it can also be implied. It can be shown in form of action also, which implies that I am giving consent for that. And may be given either by the person in possession. He may be, the consent can be from the owner, that is who is the real owner, who is in possession of the property, or by any person having for that purpose authority, either express or implied. So I may give the authorization, though I am the owner, as far as the possession is concerned, I may give the authority to somebody else. So consent can be given either by the owner, or if the owner is going to give some authority to a third person, and for all purposes you are the authorized person, if I nominate somebody, and if he gives the consent also, it can also be construed as consent. So the consent can be either by the owner himself, or in case if he is already given the authority to some XYZ person, even the consent given by such person can also be called as given, as if the consent is given. So explanations are one thing. And whenever you read section, you should also understand that lot of illustrations are given at the end of each section, and you need to understand, because examples or illustrations or anecdotes are very, very easy for us to understand. And once you read these illustrations, you will also understand the complete analysis of the section. I'll just read one or two, then you will understand what exactly theft is all about. Now, the example or illustration that is given here is A cuts down a tree on Z's ground. So, as long as the tree is there fastened to the earth, its roots are inside the earth, then we said it is no more a movable property. It remains as a immobile property. Now the moment A, who is a person, cuts down the tree on Z's ground, in whose possession is that tree present? It is in the possession of Z, isn't it? That means he is the owner. As far as the property of tree is concerned, Z is the owner of the tree, isn't it? So in Z's ground there is a tree, that is it's his property. Now he may enjoy the shadow of the or a cool breeze under the tree and all. He is enjoying the property. Now from his possession, what I am trying to do, A is trying to do is dispossess Z. What is the property here? It remained immobile. The moment A goes with an axe and tries to cut it, sever it from the earth, then it becomes mobile property, isn't it? So a mobile property in the form of a tree which has been now severed, which was there earlier in Z's ground, with an axe, A is trying to cut it down. Now What is the intention? Why A is he is not doing anything indiscriminately without any reason or rhyme. So he does it with an intention of dishonestly taking the tree out of Jud's position. Maybe it is a very costly thing, maybe it has got some international market, maybe with all that he wants to take away that, dispossess Judd, otherwise, who is the owner of that particular tree, dishonestly. That means he wants to wrongfully gain by cutting the tree. He wants to wrongfully gain at the cost of Judd's wrongful loss. No, he does that, and on top of it, without Judd's consent. So he doesn't take any consent, because if you ask him, probably he thinks he will not give. So what he does is very slowly, very surreptitiously, without the knowledge of when Judd is away on some work, he takes a good opportunity of that occasion, and then he goes there with an axe and then nicely cuts the tree. And in the process, he does it. So if his intentions are good, he could have asked, and he could have asked him to arrange for another tree of similar kind. No, instead what he does is, taking the opportunity that he is not there in the house, or taking the opportunity that he is sleeping somewhere in his room and all, since he has easy access to that ground, he goes there and then he severes the so long as it is fastened to the earth, we cannot call that as the theft. So what he does is, with the help of an axe, he tries to cut it down. So the moment he cuts it down, severs the connection between the earth and the plant, then that becomes movable property. Now all the ingredients are now getting fulfilled. So it is a movable property which is in the possession of somebody else. A is not the owner of that tree, and he is taking it dishonestly. That means wrongfully he wants to gain. So, and at the cost of wrongful loss of the Judd. So these ingredients are also fulfilling, and without Judd's consent. So all this thing is happening without Judd's consent. So in order to, here, as soon as A has severed the tree, isn't it? As soon as A has severed the tree, in order to such taking, so he has to take it. If it is fastened to the earth, there is no way that he can take it. So he has to use some implement, so that whatever connection that is there between the plant and the earth, he is going to disconnect that. He is going to sever that. So the moment he does that, now the property will no more remain as an immovable property. It is going to become a movable property. So now he is said to have caused the crime theft. So he has committed theft. Now another example is, A puts a bait for dogs in his pocket. So he is in a regular habit of, he is fond of dogs, and then he doesn't have one, but then he is fond of dogs. So to attract dogs and all, he keeps bait in his pockets, and that induces Judd's dog. So Judd has got a dog and he rears it, and then A is fond of that dog. So what he does, so since he doesn't have the dog, so somehow he has to have it, isn't it? So what he does is, he uses that bait to the dog. He throws that dog biscuit, whatever, to the dog, so that it follows him. The dogs they do not have the movement. Whosoever gives you the food, it follows you, irrespective of to whom it belongs, who is the owner. So here, if A's intention be dishonestly to take the dog out of Judd's possession, this is important. And maybe let us take another example, same example in a different way. So he takes the bait, and then he stands near the house of Judd only, and then he stands there, and then he feeds the dog, and the moment all the dog biscuits get over, he goes silently. So can we say that he is committing a crime theft there?
No.
So we can't say, because the ingredients are not getting fulfilled. So if the intention is wrong, so with a dishonest intention, he uses the bait, he throws the dog biscuits so that the dog follows him, and to some extent he keeps on feeding the dog till he thinks that he is safe to run away. So he does that, and the moment he ensures that I am no more seen by the owner of the dog, so it is safe distance for me to run away. If suppose that is the intention he carries in his mind, and accordingly he implements his intention by chasing by making the dog chase him because he is giving it the biscuits and all. So he is doing this, taking away the dog from the position of the owner. There is an intention for him. What is that intention? Disposes that person of the dog and then bring it to his. So the dog naturally it follows him because he is giving it the food. So here Jed take the dog out of Jed's position without Jed's consent. Here there is no element when his intention is dishonest. There is no element of any consent here. So even if he takes consent, he would not have given any consent, isn't it? Because for some he has brought the dog, a very good breed dog, and then he is rearing that, and no way he would like to part it with, isn't it? So in this case also, we can say that A has committed theft as soon as Jed's dog has begun to follow A. This is important. The element of dispossession should be there from the position of A. From the position of Z, A is taking it away. It has to run after him for some distance. And that fellow, if he feels this is the safest distance for me, I am not in the view of that person, so I can easily run away. I can go scot-free. That is the intention he's got. And that is the reason he is throwing biscuits at the dog so that it eats, and then the more you give, the more it wags its tail and the more it will be after you. So this is the dishonest intention he has got. So for that reason he doesn't take any permission also. So this is about the there are many more examples. You can take out any Baer Act and then try to read it, then you will understand. So now in order to understand the ingredients of theft, you have to at least understand 5 minimum points. What are those minimum 5 points? 1, there should be movable property. First ingredient that we have to understand is, it all talks about the properties which are only movable, not immovable, or not incorporeal. I hope you all know what incorporeal rights are. What are incorporeal rights? All intellectual property rights like copyright, isn't it? Patents, geographical indicators, isn't it? Which have something to do with the brain. So these are called incorporeal. Now, corporeal kind of properties which are not immovable, they are all they all constitute the subject matter of the crime called theft. Now that means the first and foremost ingredient which you have to make out in order to say a particular person's action comes under the purview of theft, number one should be, there should be a movable property. Now, when movable property is there, it should be in the possession of a person. That means somebody should be possessing it. Somebody should be possessing it. Somebody should be the owner of that particular property. That is the second ingredient that has to be understood. Now, the third ingredient which need to be understood is, the accused should move that property in order to take it out of such person's person. That means from his position, from the legal possession of that person who is the owner of that particular property, you are trying to move it away so that you can take it easily. If you can move it away from the possession of the owner, then it becomes easy for you to take it out and take it into your fold. So that is the third ingredient which has to be fulfilled. Now when you talk about the fourth important ingredient, it says it should be done without the consent. So whatever taking away of the property should be without the consent of the owner. That means you don't bother to take any consent. After all, if you take consent, he is not going to give it to you. If it is a valuable thing, if it is a costly thing, why will, with hard-earned money, he has bought it, and why will he give you? So that is the thing. Now, it should be dishonestly done. So, in doing, taking this if you have taken it or by innocence or by mistake, there are excuses for that. But then willfully, if you want to, with a dishonest intention, that in order to gain wrongfully out of the transaction, if you are taking it away, so the word which you use for both dishonest, the word which we use for wrongful gain and wrongful loss, collectively we can use the word dishonestly. So that's what it means. Now, if these ingredients are there, then we can call that as a theft. So, movable property, if you have to understand what constitute a movable property, again in section 22 of the IPC, they have clearly given what a movable property is. Now, the words movable property under section 22 of IPC are intended to include corporeal property of every description, except land and things attached. We have already discussed this. So there is an exception, except that land and the things which are attached, fastened to the earth, all other remaining things, and they should be corporeal in nature. I told you, in contrast to the incorporeal rights which come out of the intelligence of the man, by using your intelligence, by using your knowledge, brain and all, you are inventing something, you are created something, you have created something. So those things constitute rights. Nevertheless, they come under the category of incorporeal rights. But when you talk of theft, it doesn't talk of patents, or it doesn't talk of copyrights, because they are beyond the definition of the theft. So they don't come under that. Specifically, when we give the definition of a theft, we said it deals only with the movable property and not immovable property, and not also incorporeal properties. So it includes movable and corporeal properties only. Now, so definition here in movable property is given under section 22, under the general definition classes it has been given. Now, as we also know that, the attached to the earth, what is the meaning now? Now, you please tell me whether human corpse, a dead body, if suppose it is there, can we call that as a movable property or not? Can a human corpse, whether dead or any body, human body, can we call that as a movable property? Because by definition we said whichever is movable, transportable, we said it is movable property. So human body is movable, isn't it? Is it not movable? Can we not transport human dead body from one place to the other?
Yes, it is movable.
So, are they not movable properties? So law says human bodies, dead or alive, are not movable properties. That's what you have to understand. Why? There is an explanation for that. But bodies or mummies preserved by hospital mortuaries or museums or scientific institutions can be subject of theft. They can be subject of theft. So this is one. Law times are very the definitions that are given under law, and then explanations that are given under law, the examples, the illustrations given under law, at times are very tricky. So what he says is, human bodies, dead or alive, are not movable property. That's what it says. But then bodies are mummies. I mean, where it's a different kind of disintegration, where you can still see the external features of the body and all. We call that as a mummified body. Now, when they are preserved by either hospital mortuaries or the museums, if they are kept for any further scientific studies, if they are put in an institution, no, they can be called. If somebody tries to steal that, because all ancient things, they have some, antique values, isn't it? They become antiques and then they have some value. So, thinking that it will fetch him some money and all, somebody steals that, which are in the scientific institutions or which are kept as, in mortuaries and all. If you try to take that away, then you are said to be doing the theft. You are said to do the theft. See, for example, in that particular lady doctor's case, when the chief is trying to take away the bodies, the unclaimed bodies, and trying to sell it to somebody, either to Bangladesh or the debris and all, he is trying, biomass he is sending. So, can we call that as theft? Because in hospital, museums and all, why are they kept? For the interns and all, for the students who are doing the internship, for them to understand, they are kept. If at all they are kept. If at all they are kept. If they are under some museum or mortuary, the purpose of keeping such dead bodies in mortuary or any other institution is to keep that as a subject for others to study, interns and all, for them to study on live or on the corpses. It is essential, isn't it? If that is the case, if somebody tries to sell it and then take it away and sell it, then that is a dishonest thing, because you are selling them for some price and all, you are gaining wrongfully out of that. So, in such case, then it will become a subject matter for theft. So, otherwise it doesn't. And likewise, if buried corpses are there, and if you are trying to remove them from the graveyards, the accused cannot be charged under theft again. But maybe he can be prosecuted because there is a trespassing. In the burial place, you are doing trespassing. So, for trespass, you can be prosecuted, but not for theft. So, this is a little tricky when you talk of, human corpses. What about animals then? What about animals? Let us say there is a wild animal which is there in a forest. So, can they be subject matter of theft? So, animals which are wild, which are roaming in forest, they are there in the forest, can they become the subject matter of theft?
No, ma'am, because they are not in possession of anyone.
That is called. So, the legal word that we try to use for, that they are not in possession of anybody, we call that as res nullis. RESNULLIUS. Res, they don't belong to anybody, isn't it? But when they are mild or tamed animals, they can be, isn't it? So, the moment they are tamed and all, they come into your possession. When will we say that it is being tamed? Only when somebody tames it, isn't it? So, that means it comes into his possession. So, once the matter of possession comes into picture, then it will attract, it becomes the subject matter of theft. Is this clear? Now, crop we have already understood. Removal of paddy crop is theft. Now, I have already severed the paddy and then I have removed it. Then it becomes the subject matter of theft, isn't it? Now, what about gas? What about gas and electricity? Are they property? Can somebody, if illegally takes gas and all, if pilferage of gas happens, or electricity, if it is manipulated, can that be? Can it become a matter of this thing?
Yes, it is a
Subject matter. But how about electricity?
It also.
It also. Now,
It's owned
but
by state. It's owned by state.
huh?
Owned by state.
Owned by state. Yes, of course. Now, with regard to electricity, again, Supreme Court, it has held in category of cases, number of cases, it held that electricity is not mobile property. See, it is not a mobile property, hence, it cannot attract the definition of, theft. Why they said that? Based on what property of electricity they said it's not a mobile property. So, whatever we call it as a mobile property, it should come within the definition of mobile property which is been given under 22 section under IPC, isn't it? So, is it a corporeal kind of a property, mobile property? Electricity is not seen, it can only be felt. When you touch a high tension wire, you will die. So, that is the outcome, you can feel it, isn't it? You cannot see it. So, such things are called incorporeal. isn't it? It's not corporeal, so incorporeal. So can you call that as movable property then?
Corporately is intellectual property, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, anything which you cannot perceive with, you cannot, it doesn't have any dimension and all. You can only feel it. That kind of a property in the vested in the that particular trait vested in the property is called incorporeal. Not only your what you call breeze and all, you can't just see, you can feel the breeze, you cannot touch it, you cannot actually see it. If you want to see it in a physical form, you can't do that. So they are called incorporeal. So since electricity can only be felt, it cannot be seen, isn't it? So they say Supreme Court, a number of cases, so whatever ultimately Supreme Court says, it stands out as a law, isn't it? So in number of cases, the Supreme Court, the apex court said that since electricity cannot be seen, it can only be felt. Now you cannot call that as a movable property, because as per the definition of movable property, it says only the things which are corporeal in nature, and things otherwise which are movable can only be called as, and exceptions are immovable properties and incorporeal kind of properties. But since electricity is not falling under the definition of movable property, or rather it is incorporeal or not corporeal, then they said it cannot become the subject matter of theft. So what they said is, therefore section 378 doesn't apply. That's what they have, in number of cases they have given that, isn't it? But then whenever the definition is not very clear, we try to take out a fiction out of that. Legal fiction we try to create. Now they try to similarly create a kind of in order to create a kind of a legal understanding, in order to bring that electricity into the definition of what you call the movable property. What they said is, they try to include that legal fiction, created legal fiction by way of section 39, bringing in Electricity Act way back in 1910. So this fiction makes us assume that though it is incorporeal in nature, but as per the special act called the Electricity Act under 1910, we can always create a fiction, thereby convert electricity which is otherwise not visible to the eye, though not corporeal in nature, yet can make that as corporeal. That's what they said, and under that particular Act of Electricity 1910, so any dishonest abstraction of electricity should be deemed to be an offence of theft. So under IPC, if you see, per se, the abstraction of electricity may not be considered as theft, but then there is a legal fiction. So whenever by words, by the words that compose the legislation, if you're not able to get a particular definition, what law does is, it tries to create what is known as a legal fiction. So with the help of legal fiction, what you can do is, the thing which is otherwise not coming into the purview of a particular definition, you try to bring that into the framework of the definition by adopting what is known as legal fiction. So that they did by enacting Electricity Act in 1910. Under particular 39, they said dishonest abstraction. So that element of dishonest will not go, it will be there. For theft, it is the most essential thing which talks about the intention, mens rea, it will be there. But abstraction of electricity, otherwise which is incorporeal in nature, can be brought under the definition of movable property by creating legal fiction, and by creating a section 39 under the Act 1910 of Electricity Act. And then, so when somebody does this particular abstraction of electricity, then it definitely comes under the purview of the theft as given under 378. Now, can we call bank notes as property, movable?
Yes.
Similar to our valuable securities, whenever check and bonds and other security documents are there. So similarly, bank notes are also valuable securities. So as per the definition, they also fall under the category of what you call the property. So like that. Now suppose, can we call fish in a running stream as movable property?
No, ma'am.
Why?
Ma'am, because it's in a running stream.
It is not owned by
So
anybody.
this is thereby we cannot say they are not deemed to be in anybody's possession.
Yeah.
So suppose somebody catches them. So whosoever catches, the fish belong to them only, isn't it?
It
So the
belongs to
moment
them, and
somebody
after that,
catches it,
if somebody steals that, then it is a theft.
then it is theft, isn't it? Somebody has already caught them, so it is there in their possession, and somebody very surreptitiously take those fish out of his possession. Then we say that element of subject matter, it becomes the subject matter of theft. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Suppose some things are abandoned, nobody is claiming, and some things are abandoned. Now, if somebody picks them up, you call them as can you call that action as theft? A costly item, though I have abandoned, I don't want it anymore. I have thrown it there. I don't want it. So somebody else will pick it up. So can you call that as theft? Because once I was the owner of that, and then I don't want it, I have thrown it,
As per the
abandoned it.
definition, it doesn't fall under that.
It's not a theft because it doesn't belong to anybody now. It is not in anybody's possession, isn't it? So,
But if it is a property, means like a building, and it is abandoned. Okay, and after that, somebody takes
what I am
possession
trying to
of it.
tell you is it should be somebody's possession, because possession, we said ownership, possession are very important. When you are the real owner of that, so then comes the element. Now when you discard or throw away your ownership, it is, you can no more be called as the owner of that particular property, isn't it? So naturally it doesn't, I mean, in legal this thing, it is called res delicti. DRES, res, DERELICTAI, res delicti. That means you have neglected it, you have abandoned it, you don't want it anymore. So if such things are thrown on the road and somebody else picks it up, then you can't say, you can't come in rushing to the road, and then you can't say, no, it is my property, I have thrown it, you can't take it. No, you are not the owner, you are no more possessing that particular property. It is like that. Then, can a person steal or his own properties? Is that possible? Can you become a thief of your own property? Can you steal your own property? Can that be called as theft?
No.
Any special occasion can you think that stealing your own property? When do you do that? When will you do that?
For insurance claim or something.
See, I am a owner of property. What I do is I deliver the possession to another person, isn't it? And if the owner dishonestly moves the property from the possession of the other who is entitled to the right of possession of the owner, can be said to be liable for theft, isn't it? Or गिरवी रखना बोलते हैं ना, गिरवी रख के my own property, I am due some money to other person. So in lieu of that, I have mortgaged, I have kept it as a pledge. Now my own property, I have kept it as pledge, and the person with whom I have pledged it, has gone inside and saying that it is my own property, now I take it. Can you call that as a theft?
No, ma'am.
Why? Why you can't call that as theft? See, you have given it, you have delivered your possession to somebody else, isn't it? Voluntarily, you have delivered the possession of your own property to somebody else. No, temporarily or for time being, till you repay his money back,
Yes.
he is deemed owner of that particular article.
Yeah.
It is in his possession. Now, as I told you repeatedly, possession is 9 points in law. It is as good as owning that. Out of 10, 9 points you have already earned possession, isn't it? Now, you are giving that in lieu of money. You owe some money to him. Till you repay the money, you are giving some article of some value, worth some value to him, and then you please keep it. It will be yours only till such time I return your money back. You please be the owner, and you don't give me that article till I pay of your dues. If that is the thing, and taking that in good faith, and then he goes inside and then he leaves that article there only, and taking advantage that he is no more there, and then he takes that, though it is his own property, he takes it away, and without knowledge. That is important. Why is he, what is the purpose, what is the intention for which he is taking is important. And then if he takes it, and that too he is not informing him, he is not informing you. Or for example, I have some function, so I want it, though I have kept it in mortgage with you, though I have though my item is under pledge, but still that is so costly, I have some sentiment attached to it, so I'll please take it, and once the function gets over, I'll hand it back to you. And he says and then takes it. Can that be called as theft?
No. It is very common with gold jewelry.
So he informs, though he is owner initially maybe, but then for temporary purpose, he is delivering his ownership to the other person. Why? Because he owes some money to him. Till such time he repays the money back, for all practical purpose, he is the owner. Now the article is in his ownership, the article is in his possession. Now, what I am trying to do by taking my own property back, I am dispossessing the temporary owner of that particular article, and without his consent, I am taking it away, dispossessing him. So, then in such case, it becomes a disposition. I think I have explained enough for today. If you understand one theft, other things are aggravated forms only, and then how the more severe it is, the more aggravated it is, the more kind of punishment will be attached to it. So regarding other extortion, robbery, dacoity, and what are the minor differences between these things, probably we can discuss in tomorrow's class. So for today we'll leave the meeting. And about the exam, yes? About the exams and all, is there still no clarity, or some clarity has been reached? What is the thing?
Ma'am, for exams, we've been told in the other paper I asked about it. They're saying that at the headquarters, they're still discussing if it's going to be online or offline.
It has to be online only. That's the current, as of now, the decision taken is, the mid-semester exam and the semester end exam, they are going to be in offline mode. That's the understanding that we are given to, isn't it? So,
Yeah,
and the
in the
timetables
first
will be
paper,
issued.
sorry, second
Yes.
paper lecture that we had in the afternoon today for DNA forensics, I talked to ma'am and she said that the coordinator, sir, he has said like we're still having discussion about it at the headquarters because there are a lot of problems arising regarding commute and all because we don't know when we have to come. If they're saying like a
I
week
think you are
prior,
the
you
only
have
one who raised issues, isn't it, in the WhatsApp? You are the
no,
one?
not just me. There were other people
Okay.
who wanted to ask, but then after that, the messages were blocked and also we couldn't
Yeah.
ask.
So if we are helpless, what do we do? The best way is only this.
And
I
no,
think they,
ma'am
they
said
have
that
also no answer.
2 days
They have
we'll
no
get
answer probably.
clarification about it.
Huh.
So we're waiting only.
So any, as usual, online exams, we all know what is the sanctity in that. But anyway, if headquarters decides that it has to be online, ठीक है, online कर देंगे.
See, ma'am, as per my understanding, this internal assessment at T1, T2, except final exam, everything is online. except practical and final exam.
Yes, exactly. So during
That's
the
what they,
Our understanding.
also
that's
when we
what they
visited the
told in
Pune
the
campus as well,
counseling.
that is what we were told,
In the
that all of
counseling,
the
that's
exams
what
are being,
exactly they told
yeah,
you. I was also there in the
Yes.
discussion. They that's what I also understood. The way they uttered those words, I understood that only practice, because since it cannot be demonstrated online, they
yeah,
said anyway for practicals you need to come, and minor project and all, you at least for submission you have to come. And
yeah.
as
And
I
that
said,
also it was said that you have to do it during the final exams when you come for once. The submission of the project and the practical exams and everything would be taken during those 10 to 15 days that they said that you'd have to be here
huh,
in Pune. For my this midsems, they didn't say anything. It was all to be online only, even during the admissions. So now we just got the dates yesterday, and as I also mentioned in the text, that there's no transportation
I know,
also available in the
I could
facility.
see that. I could see that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
So, madam, world is
yes,
moving toward digitalization.
what?
Everything should be online now except the practical and submission of
exactly.
that. That's
Ah,
what it should be.
yeah,
Practical, they
correct,
Entire
said that
correct.
world is moving
obviously
on
it
towards
cannot happen
digitalization.
online, so we don't have any issues with that.
Ah,
Also, for that, in the academic calendar, it's like it's given 4 to 20. Those are the tentative dates. Now, if we again have to look for, this accommodation thingy, we need to know that prior. But the sir said that only 1 week prior you'll know. But that's hard, right? To make adjustments and arrangements according
I
to that.
understand, because it was
People who are
also,
living in the vicinity, for them it's fine. For people like us who are moving from other states,
I know. No, we also had lot of issues last time when we ran our courses, diploma courses. People all the way from
yeah, you
Kerala,
also
so
know
they
that
were
there's
coming.
electricity issues there and all of
Ah,
that. So in that condition, like if we want to be there, we need to find a proper accommodation. If we're going to be there for 20 days, we can't be in a place where there's
correct, correct,
electricity issues and internet issues, especially when we have to prepare for the exams also in those days, revise and all.
correct,
We need
correct.
the access, right?
So
So
we
we need
also
to
had
know
lot of
that prior, at
problems.
least like 15 to 20 days before you should tell us when we should
No,
book the
calendar
tickets and
is
all.
issued quite in advance only. That is there, they issue calendar, and then more or less the dates should fall within that time only. But only thing is regarding the exact timetable and all, exam table timetable will be issued only, and only maybe few days in advance.
That is
So
that
that
is the
makes
only concern, right?
reservations and all,
Now,
it becomes difficult. I understand. So especially
according to
Kerala
the
and other
calendar,
states.
it said that it's going to be between 4 to 20 now. But what about the exact dates? Now, 4 to 20, we can't book the tickets for the whole 20 days, right?
Correct, correct.
Because now what is happening, I'll tell you very, very clearly. I talked to my parents about it also. It's like two times if we come and stay there and book the tickets at the last moment, the fees that we've paid for the course, it's lesser than the traveling and accommodation cost that's been happening.
Correct, correct. So
Right?
what
So
is
that
the
is what
solution?
they
They
first
have come to some solution, or still pondering over that?
they're still doing that. They've said that 2 days give us time, and then I'm planning, because I live in Ahmedabad. I'm also planning on visiting the headquarters because Gandhinagar is like 25 minutes from my place.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so I'm planning on visiting the headquarters to meet with the associate dean as well for this, because I think I talked to Arvind sir when he was there in Pune. Now he's moved to this campus, and he said like you guys should visit the headquarters and all.
But why have you chosen Pune Center? Why not
No,
Ahmedabad?
sir, the thing is, I applied for Gandhinagar only. This course was available in Gandhinagar, but I don't think there was enough strength, so they uh, took off the course from Gandhinagar campus, and they said only these courses you have left. Sorry, these campuses you have left.
That is
But
on
there was no
merit and priority basis, the
there were
options
no
that you
choices.
give, depending on
We
all
had no
that
other option. I also applied for two courses, which was one was this psychology course, but for that the merit list was out and the results weren't. Sorry, the this thingy was out for this course, and that merit list for the other course was not yet out, and I got the admission for this, so I took it. And this was all, anyways, my first priority because it's closer to what I have studied in my bachelor's, right? So it would be easy for me to cope up, especially given the fact that it's a distance course.
Now you have already thrown the issue open. So it is for them. I think they'll come out with some solution definitely, because they have to take
So the
some
same
the
thing what
policy
happened
matters.
was that
They'll take
when we
decision
came
and
to Pune also for this document checking and all, right? We received a mail from the headquarters saying that if you don't show up, the next day we had to show up. They sent the mail in the evening, and one day only we got the time. Now
It
the
happened.
tickets and everything.
It
And
happened
they said
here.
that we would cancel your admission if you don't show up. That was clearly what was stated in the mail. So we had to do. We had no option. We had to come. And when we came to Pune, me and my father, we did, and we got to know that we didn't even have to be there. We said they said the authorities there. They said that you could have just gone to the Gandhinagar campus and showed your documents there because you've
Absolutely.
anyway submitted.
Absolutely.
So
It's
we
only
just had
matter
to
of
sit
showing. How does it
watching
matter
time
whether
and
you
talk
show it in
time.
Ahmedabad or Pune, or it's a matter of it's a fact proof. Document is a proof. You can show it. I mean, it amounts the same thing. It's only verification. How does it matter? Place
Exactly,
doesn't
but
matter.
now we get mail saying that if you don't show up at your center on the date that has been given, we would cancel your admission. So for us students is like a very
Correct, correct.
crucial thing, right? What
I
if,
know.
because there is no other university nationwide, offering this course as PG diploma.
I know.
It's MSc, yeah, they have, but for PG diploma, no other universities.
Correct,
So we
correct.
don't have any backup option as well. We
So
had to what we had to
you
do.
didn't try it. It is there in Delhi University also. PG course is there. PG diploma.
But hopefully, I
But
think.
Delhi is far away, more far from Pune,
Yeah,
sir,
it is far
right?
off.
So,
100%.
anyways,
But
what
But
कहीं जाना होगा तो same thing.
connectivity to Delhi is much better from Ahmedabad rather than
but
by train.
I think
We had no
this
idea
has
because
become
we were told only once we have to go.
this
So
has
many
really
times.
become an issue. I think this will be sorted out, because the headquarters, they are also applying their
And
mind to it,
they
and
are
then
also
I hope.
they are also experimenting it. This is for first batch, I think. They are experimenting it.
Yeah, I think so. Because today also we talked to the headquarters people there. Arvind sir is there, so we talked to him also, and he said that we are also talking about the same thing. We're discussing it. We've been having discussions regarding this for a few days because he also said that it's not possible to call students from all these states
I know.
and in such short notice.
Correct, correct.
They should have a tie-up with some institution there only where you are based.
Ah,
Yeah, and it's just the exam. Anyways, they are going to be conducting the exams everywhere, like throughout the
And
whole country, wherever
now,
the
now even online exams can be conducted through VC calls.
ah,
Through
yeah.
video.
yeah,
They
yeah.